Hi, family. Welcome to another exciting episode of On God with me, Wilhelmina's Mono. Mindful, heartful, and purposeful conversations. If it's your first time here, welcome. You just find yourself a group and community of believers who are just dedicating their lives to the Lord, who are just, everything they do, Jesus is at the center. And if you have been rolling with me since episode one, you already know I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. Do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Also, I am on social media, so you guys can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on TikTok, you can follow me on Threads. I am on Facebook, but I'm just not sure if I am that active. I need to log into my Facebook account. I know it's still existing, but I've just never been on there. And I just never want to get rid of that account for some reason. But yeah, definitely not on Twitter. You guys already know this. I'm a very sensitive person. So the opinions shared on Twitter, sometimes they hurt me. And I would literally have a bad day because I saw one bad piece of content. Also, I know this mic does have noise cancellation. So if you are hearing the noise from our neighbors, I'm so sorry about that. It had to be today. They couldn't wait for any other day. It just had to be today. But that's also cool. Um, I'm actually a bit excited and a bit nervous. You guys are probably seeing a different scene. Sorry. So I'm at home. I am home for my birthday. My birthday's coming up on Tuesday. Um, I did already have an episode that I was gonna put up this Sunday, but I just thought I should record a birthday episode because there's just so much that I feel like I'm grateful about when it comes to me turning 29 on Tuesday. So I just thought maybe let me record a special episode because I've already been in my prayer time with the Lord. And today I'm holding the mic because I'm wearing a turtleneck and it's kind of hard for me to put it anywhere. So I'm just gonna be holding it. I see people hold it all the time. I always thought it was a bit weird, but it's not because I'm sitting here and it's just it's really really not weird, I promise you. So yes, I'm home. I actually took time out from work just so I can be home. Guys know I'm obsessed with my son. Can't wait to see the little man. But I also felt I should record this episode because it's just some of the things that I was really reflecting about in terms of 2029, where I am, in terms of my career, in terms of relationships, friendships, and also just deepening my walk with the Lord. So let's get into it. I think more than anything, what's different about my birthday this time around is the fact that I feel like it's going beyond just growing, but it is more about becoming, and more than anything, just becoming the woman that I think God has all along been calling me to be, right? Because you look at your life before you found the Lord and you're like, well, that was a bit of a bumpy road, right? And then you like look at your life after you found Jesus, you just like, he's just at the center of my heart, where I am unable to make certain life decisions without him, without consulting him, or you just like very much present in your in your spirituality. You're just very much present in terms of what am I doing, what's the next plan. And I know that has really altered a lot of my life going forward. Like, I am just unable to do life without consulting the Lord Almighty. Like, it's the most difficult thing. I'm talking whether it's a new job opportunity. Like, I think it was a month back, like, I got this call from these guys and just praying about it. Like, I was so convicted. Like, Holy Spirit was like, I don't think you should take the job because they're calling you to be like a senior, and I don't think you're not like yet there in your walk with Christ. And so it's one of those things where you're like, you overlook, you overlook the money, the benefits and everything, but you're just focusing on, is it going to grow me, and is it where God is going to plant me? So I think more than anything, with turning 29 just around the corner, it just feels like we're not just growing, we're becoming, and we're just not growing, but we're getting deeper into our walk with God and being very very intentional. I think what the year 2023 has done for me was show me that a lot can actually happen in the year, because that's the year where there was so much learning, unlearning, and relearning, right? And to just look back now, 2 years later, you just always have the thought, like, how did we get here? Like, how did we end up here? And we're not mad. And I think I shared in last week's episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago, that for the first time, I'm just not anxious about my birthday. I think my birthday has always been one of those days where I'm really anxious, and not because like I'm not celebrating or there's no cake or there's no whatever, but I've always been anxious about it because it always felt like it was another reminder that I'm not where I need to be. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not where I need to be because, honey, I don't have 3 million in my bank account. But like, there's something about the previous birthdays where they would always come with this unsettling reminder that I'm not where I want to be, whether it's in terms of my career, whether it's in terms of the relationships I have with my friends or my family or things like that, right? But above all, I think it was more rooted in purpose. Like, yes, I'm a writer, I enjoy what I do for a living, but like I just always felt like there was more out there. And with every single birthday passing, it just really always felt like I'm not where I need to be. And I think for the first time in forever, the first time since being very intentional about living, it feels like not that I've cracked the code, but I can breathe and say, I'm turning 29 and I've done this. And I think the podcast has been the greatest burden for me that was on my heart. Like even last year on my birthday, I was like, you still haven't launched your podcast. What's going on with you, girl? But now that I'm like here recording every chance I get, it just feels like you're doing something. And it might not be where you want it to be, but these are the steps that I needed to take, for God to ordain, because we always say, oh, God order our steps, but he honestly can't order the steps you're not taking. And I always go back to one of my favorite quotes to say, you can't ask God to part waters in your life, but you're not even in front of the ocean, you're not even in front of the sea. Honey, what are you doing? You better get with the walking if you want him to order your steps. So I think this year feels a whole lot different because it's like, okay, we are taking steps, we're making movements, we're walking in obedience. And it just, that feeling of there's more for me out there, I think for the first time, it just really feels like I am actually en route to getting the more, because the worst place you can be on earth, honestly, is like having no purpose, having no goal, feeling like a failure. And I know those feelings are not from God, because God never wants us to feel condemned or anything like that. But it's also a reality that it happens when you're not where you feel like you want to be. That can easily like turn everything upside down for you. Like, and I'm like a softie, I'm sensitive, anything can trigger my mood, you know what I mean? So I'll be there bawling my eyes out about how I'm not where I want to be. But like, for the first time in forever, I literally feel like everything makes sense. Like everything makes sense. I think for the most part of it, it's when they say like he knows us before we even know ourselves. I think the most part of it, this is what this chapter has been. And walking into the next chapter, I'm just hoping I get to unlock more of that, where he shows me who I am, because sometimes, from the outside looking in, and I remember even when I started this walk, when the idea to, start the podcast came, and I was just like, I don't think so. I just don't think, you know what I mean? But it's like, oh, but you're a good speaker. You can do this, you know what I mean? But you're like, still don't think so, because I never believed in the woman that would have been required to start the podcast. I saw this quote, though it was talking in the context of a relationship. They were just like, that man is not rejecting you, he's rejecting the man he will need to be with someone like you. And when I took it in the context of me just following my dreams and walking in obedience, I was like, you are not necessarily rejecting the idea of the podcast. You are rejecting the person you would need to become for you to even have a podcast. And that's consistency. Child, I struggle with consistency, but I think I got a hang of it now. I struggle with procrastination. I would need to stop being a procrastinator for me to be able to successfully drop an episode every Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes we it's not that we don't believe we can do the things that we want to do. It's that we don't believe we can become the person who needs to do the things that we are dreaming for. I think obedience is a very like big conversation in my chapter right now. And apologies if you feel like you're hearing about obedience, from episode 1. We are now on episode 6. Like, what are you doing? But obedience is a very big theme in my life right now. And it literally has a spillover effect across everything: my work, my career, my prayer life, my podcast, and right. And the weight and wonder of obedience is in that you have to let go of certain things that you've always been trusting and step into the great unknown. For Peter to walk on water when Jesus called him out, he had to let go of everything that he knew, the science behind the fact that water cannot carry a human being, the calculations behind how gravity works. He had to let go of everything that he knew and say, I'm just gonna trust in the fact that the great I am is calling me and I'm gonna step out. And I think that's what um like that's the weight and wonder of obedience, that honestly anything can happen. Right on the other side of obedience, as I always say, there's a beautiful story waiting to unfold. And it's just a conversation I always feel like I really want to be honest about, that it's not easy. You wake up on some days and you just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm 29. I'm not married. I don't own a house. I don't own a car. Those conversations are going to come to you. But then on the other side, you step out of the maze and you look and you're like, but I'm okay. Like, I'm okay. I last week I spoke about focusing on everything that is going right. You focus on the fact that actually you are 29 and you're in a certain tax bracket, or you're 29 and you have just like an amazing community of people that are just rooting for you to win, that are rooting for you to do great, right? So with obedience comes those back and forths where you're like, God, where are you? And then on other days, you're like, God, I can feel your tangible presence in this room and in my life. So there's a certain wholeness that comes with walking with God, right? And it just honestly feels like, you know, people talk about how there is a void, or there is, I don't know, there's loneliness or whatever the case is, but there's a certain wholeness that comes with having God at the center of your heart, that all the things that matter in the world just tend to not matter anymore. And I'm going to give a perfect example with, I think, not even last year, I think the year before that. Okay, I don't quite have the dates correct in my mind right now, but you people just learn that, oh, you work at Alexander Forbes. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's dope. But I remember being there for a year and I felt so undone. I felt so incomplete. And at the time, my walk with Christ was not really that deep. You know what I mean? And even like the decision to say I'm actually going to go back to my previous company, it was just like, but remember the late nights, remember the crazy workload, remember all of that. But that decision came with so much peace, because like I just remember consulting what I said. What I love about that company is that I grew there. Like I grew and I was given a platform to be my animated, quirky self. Because child, I can be animated and quirky. And I'm not saying Alex Forbes never gave me that opportunity. I think it's an amazing company, and I'm not just saying that so that they don't sue me, but it's really amazing. But when you are creative, when you color out of the lines like that, it kind of becomes like a bit rigid. You feel like you're in a bit of a box, when in fact you are a circle. So I think those were just some of the things where I felt like, even if you work in the greatest of companies, even if you have the most beautiful of relationships, even if you have the designer clothes, there is nothing that can fill a void that only God is meant to fill. And sometimes he doesn't just like fill it with his presence, but he fills it with your newfound desires. You know what I mean? Child, if you told me 2 years back that I would be obsessed with sitting in front of my phone and recording episodes, get out. I would actually not believe you. No, what I would not believe is if you told me that it's going to come to a point in your life where you're not going to drink, you're not going to smoke, you're not going to do any of that nasty stuff. And I'm probably just going to look at you like, okay, what are you on about? Right. But that's the thing about, just having life or doing life with Christ. You know what I mean? And I think also for most of it, what we were taught in church was that you need to know Christ for yourself. The thing is, when you box him, or you take him based on what other people tell you who he is, and based on their encounters, I don't think you ever fully experience him like that, which is why even for the people that are in my life, my friends, or any other person that goes like, I want to get back into the church, I want to do whatever. There's only so much that I can do for you. Like, there's only so much that I can do for you, because it's just one of those things where it needs to be a personal encounter. You need to encounter it for yourself, honey, because I encountered him for myself. And I think that's why no one can take that away from me. And I think that's why I do not get tired, even when, it gets difficult and it gets slim and it gets dim. I encountered him for myself. I remember it's 2023, somewhere around July, when I was at the pits, at the bottom. And there I met my God. So I always say, when you encounter him for yourself, you never get tired. Because a conversation that I've been having lately, I said, when people say, oh, I'm walking away from the church, or I'm walking away from the faith, I always immediately assume that someone sold them on the idea that the church is going to change their lives or change the trajectory of their story, right? I'm always convinced, because there is no way you can encounter God like that personally on whatever path you're on, and then one day wake up and decide that actually I'm gonna just go do tarot. How about that? Like, I'm just gonna let cards tell me my future. So it's one of those things that from time to time I think about when I'm sitting in my own prayer life. So for me, with turning 29, I know I am becoming. I think God has given me a glimpse into who He wants me to be, or who I have the potential to be. And with everything that has transpired in my life, I think in the past 2 years of my walk, I almost have the same vivid picture that he has. And the most beautiful thing is to be in agreement with what God says about you, because it's not easy to sometimes believe the things he says about us. You know what I mean? You're the head and not the tail. Wonderfully and fearfully made, called and chosen, qualified, set apart, appointed as prophet of nations. It's hard to believe those things when, one, you have the experience of not being those things, you know what I mean, and two, also living in a world that will constantly remind you of your flaws, you know what I mean, like, oh, you're short, oh, you're too loud, know your opinions, you need to water them down. So it becomes a bit tricky to sometimes believe what God says about you. And I think what gives me ease and calm about this chapter is that I'm getting in agreement with him, I'm getting in alignment with him about what he says about me. um and it's not every day I'm going to wake up and I'm confident and ready to take on the world by storm. Some days I'm just like, I must be pretty ugly, because why am I not married? You know what I mean? And then other days you're like, oh yeah, if you do not want that for me, God, that's cool. I'm chill. I'm going to breathe. You know what I mean? Like, all kudos, ain't nothing wrong over here, you know what I mean? But now give a sister heads up. So I've already touched on the fact that it's all about learning, unlearning, and relearning. And I think that's very beautiful when you allow yourself to let God change the things that you used to believe, change the things that you used to abide in or swear by. You know what I mean? I think when you see that transformation, you just like, ain't God but good. And that He is. I'm going to tell you that for free, sis. I'm going to tell you that for free, bro. Like, God is really that good. To watch Him transform you, because transformation with God is inevitable, especially if you have encountered him for yourself. It's just inevitable. You move different, you think different, you crave different, like everything about you just becomes different, right? And you don't even have to be loud about your faith like that, like, I'm born again, oh my goodness, let's go get baptized. Like, you don't even have to be loud about it. It's just gonna radiate out of you. And not to brag or anything, not to brag, but I've had people tell me I got a Jesus glow. And you know what? I believe him. I believe him, because it's just a certain thing that happens inside of you that shifts. Because then I think people talk about it like, when you're truly happy, you don't even need to tell people that you're happy, sweetie. It's just gonna show. You don't have to sing, to the choir and remind us that you're happy, honey. We're gonna see it. You know what I mean? We're gonna see it. And that's what truly I love about this walk of becoming. I think a big thing that um I've grown accustomed to is that I moved from chasing milestones to chasing moments. I am such a moment girl, and I think I spoke about it last week or 2 weeks back, when I was like, there's something about focusing on the pocket-sized miracles that it literally shifts your entire mind from believing that God is not doing anything in your life. You know what I mean? I find myself being attentive sometimes that wait, actually all the traffic lights were green from my house to work. And guys, I use Winnie Mandela. The traffic on that road is crazy. Actually, three routes that I use that are crazy: Winnie Mandela, Leslie, and Witkoppen. Like you know what? I'm defeated. So there are some days where like the lights are just green and it's smooth going, and you're like, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. So I think I moved from chasing milestones to chasing moments. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I'm going out there deliberately trying to create cute moments for myself because, girl, I can. But it's just me really paying attention to the world around me. Like, oh my gosh, the dude I like actually likes me back, and he is after my heart, knowing that to be after my heart, you have to be after God's heart. Like, it's things like that where you like, I I love it. I love it here. You know what I mean? The other day I found myself just stepping out the maze, look at just the amazing group of friends that I have, like just really intentional women that are doing great in their respective industries and that are also just so curious about God and are curious about their lives, their careers, you know what I mean? So it's things like that that I do not take for granted because we were laughing about it. We're like, yo, we need to be grateful for this friendship because some friendships, honey, they are solving issues that I just don't even think as friends they should be solving. So it's really just one of those zooming into the moments, and that has really given me a new sense of appreciation for the everyday. You wake up every morning, you know the Bible tells you his mercies are made new every day. So you wake up with an expectant heart, whether big or small or miraculous, you know what I mean? And I find that to be something that I would really like to hold on to, not only just for the next chapter, but like just going forward, you know what I mean? And I think it's something I would probably impart in my kids as well. Like, wake up every day being expectant of the pocket-sized miracles that God has for you. Because the thing about waiting for the big miracles, you know, when you buy the big car, when you buy the big house, when you do all of that, the thing about waiting for them is that when they take their time to happen, you end up being growing weary. You end up forgetting the other small things that God is doing in your life in that point in time. So that's another thing about becoming, where your way of thinking, your way of doing life just really changes. And it's something that, I'm not gonna lie, as someone who is like very impatient, talked about this, it's nice to just be to patiently experience the small miracles, the small pocket-sized miracles. Our story when it comes to how God is writing it, I think it's far much more bigger than we can ever fathom. And and I always try to draw reference to that verse that goes like, exceedingly above and beyond. I think when I think of that verse and I just, you know, put it next to what, the plans I think I have for myself and the plans he has for me, it really feeds into the notion that if I think my story is finished now, let me tell you, honey, it is not finished. He's not finished. There's so much more to the story that he needs to add. And I think I love the song from Elevation Worship, He is More Than Able. He is not done with you yet. You know what I mean? What we have to do every day is to just wake up and be. We need to wake up and become her, as in the title of this episode, become him. Because the thing about becoming, right? It's a is it present continuous? If my English teacher is watching this and it's not present continuous, then I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how I got that distinction. Like, I don't know. But the thing about becoming is that it's present continuous. Like, you have to wake up every day and choose to be that person and not wake up and think about that person. I don't know if I'm making sense with this, right? Because it's easy for us to say, oh, one day I want to stop procrastinating. One day I want to stop, um, you know, making excuses and whatever. But the thing is, for you to one day stop procrastinating, you literally have to wake up the next day and not procrastinate, right? For you to say one day, I'm going to be fit, I'm going to be slim, to get to one day, you have to wake up today and jog or do whatever it is that health, fitness girlies and boysies are doing, right? So, in terms of being, it's waking up every day and being the woman I know God wants me to be. And I guess I'm, like I said, I'm also just so grateful that I'm in alignment with that as well, because it's one thing to like be there getting down and dirty and everything, and then be like, I really want to be an orator that motivates people and whatever, but you don't have half of your life together. No. I'm not saying I have my life together. I don't. If you ask the people that see me every day, I don't. I do. Sometimes I'm just holding on to the Bible and a cup of coffee, child, because that's all I can do. You know what I mean? But to become the person you want to be, it's not a someday thing. It's a today and right now thing. It's something that you have to do, right? When God said to Moses, you are gonna go to Pharaoh and you're gonna tell him to release my people, he was like, I'm not a good speaker. I don't know what you heard, but I know you know it because you created me, right? But there's a certain muscle that Moses needed to exercise over and over again. Though it was his brother at some point who was doing all the talking, but for him to gain the confidence to stand in front of a Red Sea and parted, to have water gushing out of rocks, to be able to speak to the people as he was leading them out of Egypt. There's a certain muscle that he needed to exercise as well, right? We see it in the case of Joseph. For him to be able to even be fully aware and interpret dreams to get to where he's speaking to kings and telling kings what their dreams, there's a certain muscle that he needed to exercise as well. There's a certain, maybe not even muscle, but we need to tap into something for us to step into that, right? And I'll use me as an example again. As a chief procrastinator, I knew that for me to become the girl with the podcast, I needed to step into a level of consistency that I've never stepped into, right? So we don't become one day, we become today. We wake up today and we literally just be. I think a birthday prayer that I would say in terms of becoming um is that I really do grow deeper and I never grow weary. Um I think it was now last week I was praying for someone. It's just like, God, please give him strength, as we'll be doing this, just cover him and everything. And I just remember Holy Spirit tugging at me and saying, well, girl, I'm gonna need you to pray for yourself as well, and I think we do that sometimes, where we forget to pray for ourselves. Like, Lord, I haven't really mastered ABC, but please cover me, give me the strength, let courage just overtake me right now so I'm able to do this, right? So I think I pray that I go deeper and I don't grow weary, right? And in as much as I have encountered him for myself, and it's something no one can take away from me, it happens. It happens because the thing about life or disappointments is that they do knock you down. And I take an L very bad. I'm not a sore loser, but I acknowledge the impact of being hurt, being disappointed, being whatever. So you know what I mean? So when that happens, sometimes I can go a day or two without walking into my prayer closet. And when that happens, you're just like, do not lose him. Do not lose him. Hold on to the hem of his garment at the very least. And with a platform like YouTube right now, having a platform like that, I understand how sometimes it can be very hard to obey because you are scared of sharing an opinion that you know is going to be controversial. I found myself just saying, may I continue to walk in obedience, even when the light is dim and even when the crowd is slim. I didn't try to rhyme, but it is what it is. But it's one of those, because I think being lukewarm, being a hypocrite, those are two things that, like, I'm scared of them. Like, I'm scared of being a hypocrite. I'm scared of being a lukewarm Christian, right? and I pray over those things. And that's why sometimes when I have to do something, there's certain episodes like they're still chilling there, in the in one of my banks, and I'm like, I need you to gather the strength to release this, because you're like, oh, I don't want to get canceled, baby, but I'm getting canceled for the Lord, then I don't think that is a problem. I literally do not think that that is a problem. Oh, baby, cancel away, cancel, unsubscribe, okay? And I'm not saying that like out of arrogance or whatever, but I just feel like if I'm gonna walk in my truth, if I'm going to walk in my obedience, then I need to do so fully. You know what I mean? It's like when you meet someone and you tell them, like, this is me, this is what I believe, and this is how I do life, and I hope, we good. I hope we good. And that's one of the things that I'm definitely praying for as I get into chapter 29. I also want to laugh more. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. I do want to laugh. Like, I love laughing. Laughing makes me happy. Laughing completes me. I just want to laugh. Give me a joke or two, right? And I think the reason why I'm like I want to laugh more, and not as if I'm not already laughing more, is it's also being just deliberate with the kind of people I'm around. I'm not saying if you're sad, you shouldn't be around me. Come through, I'll give you a prayer or two. But I just, like, I'm sorry. Like, if you're not making me laugh, what are we doing? What are we doing? So I really want to laugh more, and I'm so glad that lately I've just been having some amazing people, some very animated, like, it's just nice to meet a fellow animated person. And we just, like, yeah, I really want to laugh. I want to laugh loud. I have an ugly laugh. I've owned it. I heard one of them girlies are like, oh, I work on my laugh every year. I'm like, what? I can't imagine standing in front of the mirror and just like, no. Okay, I'll go with one laugh. And if the uglier and louder the laugh, the more you need to know that that was absolutely genuine. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. And I think for a change, I do not want to be strong anymore. I'm not saying I'm not going to face the things I need to face the way I need to face, how I need to face them, but I think I really do not want to be strong. I've just had, like, a reminder that, sometimes by virtue of, feeling like, okay, cool, I'm like a firstborn daughter, only child type of vibe. It always feels like you have to carry on the weight of the world, and then you have a problem asking for help. You have a problem to, relating to the people around you. So you feel like you can't necessarily be vulnerable with them. But like, God has showed me I have some amazing people that are always ready and willing to listen. I think Celine is like one of the most amazing people. Gugu has been very amazing. Kieran and Cherise. They're like, it's just like amazing people that I just hear, like, you don't have to be strong. Like, what are you going through? So I think I want to tap more into that, where I don't need to carry the weight of 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 this walk alone. And I say the weight of this walk alone because unintentionally sometimes there's this unrealistic pressure that comes on your shoulders, like, oh my goodness, I need to be here by now. No, I really do not want to do that. And even like with recent people that I've just been walking in my life, they are nonchalant versions that I could never be. Like, I wish I was a nonchalant person. I wish I was chill, like laid back, like, you, what's up, what's good, what's happening. I'm not. I'm like as loud as they come, right? um but what happens beyond the loudness is these a whole lot of overthinking, sometimes a whole lot of uncertainty and everything. So I'm also grateful for, the new people, more nonchalant, very laid back, and you're like, yes, I need this. Now make me laugh. That's what you're gonna do, right? So definitely. So I know this episode was also a bit more personal, like it was more on a me basis, but I think um there are nuggets to get from it that I'd like to share with anyone, whether it's the single mom that feels unseen, whether it's the guy that is stumbling, whether it's the young girl striving, trying to do everything on your own, or anyone who is just not sure if they're on the right path, just be. Wake up every day and be. Like becoming the person of your dreams, or the person who God wants you to be, doesn't start one day. It starts the moment your alarm goes off and you say, I'm gonna be the girl dedicated to prayer. And it just means every day you must wake up at a particular time and get into your prayer time. And even as you are being, we need to be patient with ourselves, because we are becoming. And like it's a continuous thing. There are some things I still fall on, and I say this over and over in every chance I get, so that someone out there can be reminded that it's not linear. You know what I mean? Like last week I talked about keeping it real with God, but you find that I'm not going to keep it real in certain situation, because I feel guilty and I feel ashamed, and I need to be reminded that you don't have to. So then I go back to the drawing board again. You know what I mean? There are some days, honestly, according to my planner, I should be editing my episodes during the week. Sometimes I be editing them in a Saturday afternoon, and like that was not part of the plan. But even when that happens, I give myself space and room to breathe. Like, it's not all that bad. It's really not all that bad. God is writing your story. And part of the story he's writing is where you are stumbling. Part of the story is where you can't even hold on to him and the promises he made to you. Part of that story is the part where um you lose everything, and for the first time you need to rely on only his word. He is writing your story, because I think when we say God is writing our story, you want to focus on the beautiful stuff, you know but the bad stuff are there too. They are happening, and they are real. The part where you wake up and you wonder, am I good enough? Am I on the right path? The part where you are going to make the wrong decision, get in a wrong business deal, and that's going to make you backtrack. He's also writing the part of your story where, your podcast is changing lives, or the book that you were dreading to release is a bestseller. The part where you enter rooms and your opinions matter. He is writing your story. So be patient with him, just as he was patient with you before you found him. And that's like something I hold on to all the time. Every time I'm in a hurry with God, like, oh, what are we doing next? What's new? What are we cooking? It's like, be patient with him. He was patient with you for the past 22 years. I don't know, where you didn't even call out to him, where you relied on tarots and star signs and all those things. He was patient with you. So why can't you be patient with him as he is helping you become? So I'm very excited. I'm very excited. Turning 29. Um, Being with the people I love, people who make me feel seen, who make me feel alive, who make my opinions feel like they matter. Um, I'm just really happy. I'm just really happy, and I think also happy that on the actual day I'm going to be with my son. So that is like something to look forward to. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed this birthday edition podcast, where it is all about becoming. Because the truth is, it is a journey, and sometimes we never reach like full conclusion. Sometimes we never reach the full, yes, this is done, we finished. Life would be boring after that. Like, what would you look forward to? You know what I mean? How would you look forward to? So give yourself space, give yourself room, turn the page and let God write the story. And I think that's the most exciting thing and most beautiful thing that you can do for yourself, to just be a co-writer with God, but with him holding the pen. Because hey, hey. And that's all I have time for you this week, family. I called you guys family. I should have called you guys OGs. Oh my goodness. We go again. We go again next week. Next week, we go again. But that's all I have time for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to stay mindful, heartful, and purposeful. Love and light.